Welcome back to Wizards Supercoach for a round 5 review. Gather round was pretty good. Being an Adelaide resident myself, obviously I could be biased there, but now we've got it for the next 3 years, so that's good to hear. Went to a couple of games myself. Hopefully get to more next time and hopefully get to the Crom game. Couldn't get tickets this time, but bloody hell, what a game. Perfectly cromulent performance there. It was a good week actually, best week of the season so far for my team. I've jumped up 20,000 ranks and a score of 2,342. So on the right track, still pretty far off the pace, but as long as it keeps improving, that's all you can really ask for, I guess. I'm kind of liking the challenge actually, of just seeing like how brave I can be and how far I can get up the ranks. So still got that nothing to lose attitude, I guess. Guess we'll see how the team went. Now notice this round that a lot of the primos that people had kind of been questioning, they all seem to bounce back and do really well. But not this guy, Dacos, he's been on fire all year. 128, that seems like pretty standard for him this season, so happy with that again. He's definitely a VC or C option, even though I didn't use him this week. Sard 85, he was going to ton up, but he spent the last, I think, 10 minutes or last half of the last quarter on the bench. They're saying he's got hamstring tightness, so I don't know if that's going to keep him out for a week or two, or hopefully not. I don't want to have to sideways trade again, having already gone through so many of those. But yeah, Ben Keys again did a pretty good job on him. He really seems to like that matchup, and I don't think Sard does. So it was good to watch from a Crows supporter's perspective, but not so much for the super coach aspect. Jack Bowes 66. He's an absolute beast. Like, he's such a good contested player, and he gets to good positions, and Geelong just absolutely burn him. I've said it in other weeks, but yeah, it was the worst that's been on the weekend. I think they should just chuck him in as a full-time CBA mid. Yeah, just contested animal. I don't know what's up with Geelong. Like, they obviously had a big win on the weekend, but they're far from convincing still. So yeah, their midfield looks pretty weak. I'd be just giving Bowes a role at least and leaving him there, put him in the middle. But I think I've seen enough of him. He might have to get chopped this week if other things go to plan. But I have a feeling that he's going to survive another week just because there's bigger problems. He's still making money. He's still got his break even's like 45 or something, so he's still pretty safe. But one man that's not is Ruben Jimby. Subbed out on 51. That's going to kill his cash gen now, I think. His break even's like 80 something. 81. So yeah, I might hold him. I don't know. I know a lot of people are going to get rid of him, but he could easily reset his break even this weekend. It's going to be interesting if he does play, watching him and Vaughan Francis probably go head to head. McKenna Quiet 155. I'm not sure what to make of that. He didn't seem to get near it. Just didn't seem to be anywhere. A bit like Bowes, like they're on the field and they're around it, but they're nowhere at the same time. Wilmot 68, he had a pretty quiet first half. I've noticed that with him though this year, is that he seems to get more, like far more game time in the second half and gets pushed up the ground, starts to get the ball more. So 68 from him is fine. I think if he just got a bit more game time in the first half, he could probably start averaging like 70 or something. 42 from Cowan. Pretty low considering he's pumped out 51s nearly every week, so whatever. He's just a slow burn, break even 22. He should make that if he plays. And Constable, kind of glad he didn't play, because if he had played and been the sub and came on with a low score, would have nuked his cash generation, so that's not too bad. I don't mind having him there because he's got the defender mid split and he will come in eventually. And I think if he just tidied up his disposal efficiency, he'd be, well, a half decent pick. And this is where it gets interesting. I VC'd Laird, so 135. I was pretty happy with that. That's the reason why I got him at the start of the year. I don't care really that he's lost, 60,000. He's there to score points, and round one was a complete anomaly. So since then, he's averaged, I think, 128 or something like that. So that's what you want. It doesn't matter that the 50 came in round one. It could have easily come in the middle of the year or something. So at least it's out of his price cycle. It's all good. He's just going to keep scoring like this, I think. And then Lockie Neal, 176. I wish I had a VC'd him, but I don't think anyone really saw this one coming. Special shout out to DR. My condolences for trading Neal out and losing the faith. I said last week that Neal had been, if you remember from my last video, he'd been scoring low hundreds mostly. He hadn't had a bad score yet, like anything under a 95 or whatever. And if he just kept doing that, he only needed one big one, and he'd be way up there again on the total points. Now, he's currently 6th in the competition for total points after that game, and out of the midfielders, he's 2nd. So, basically, I told you so, but it was coming. And hopefully he can keep, like, he's not going to pump out 176 every week, but hopefully he can keep going like 120 plus from here. It pays to hold on to some of these keepers. Like, you picked them for a reason. The first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, it's not make or break. Like, it doesn't mean everything. It's a marathon, not a sprint. If you look at most of the top teams from the first couple of rounds, they've already slipped, like, way out in the rankings. So I'll just hold if you can. So Bont, the other one that was being questioned, he's pumped out a 145. Yeah, he was just really good. I can't say much about his game other than he did what he normally did. It seemed like Champion Data was maybe a bit more generous this week. But again, like I said in the last video, I'm noticing odd things from Champion Data. Like, something's definitely up now, I'm convinced. Whether that's a conspiracy or not, like if someone's doing it on purpose, I don't know. But it could just be their algorithms changed, and yeah, it's doing some odd things, which I'll get to with a few other players later. Tom Green, 97. Could have been a nice 110 or even higher, but he started out terrible. I think like his first 5 disposals or something had him on negative points because he couldn't hit a target, and it was Clanger City. He's really not what we all thought. So we picked him up as value option, and what's he? Yeah, so he's not really made any money. He hasn't lost it either. But I don't see that as value. He's just pumping out what he was priced at. That's not really a problem, as long as he's not going down. And it's still like consistent ton-ish points each week. Setterfield, 91. He was good late. I'm still not sold on him. He might have to make way. I'm far from decided on trades this week. I haven't really looked too much, but he might make way for Tuggleton. But yeah, he did well to get his break even against Melbourne. I didn't think he could. An 80 against Collingwood, he can do that, but he's not going to make much more money from here, I think. Hopper, 115, that was really good. So I was actually at this game and sitting really high up in the stands, so it was interesting to watch the game from that perspective, because I normally don't. You get to see a lot of the spread and stuff from a different angle, and there's not much spread from Hopper. But yeah, that was interesting. He was really good, 115. For his price, that's great. So what's his break even now? Because I know a few people got rid of him in the last couple of weeks. Break even 46. So you can see he's an inconsistent scorer. 67, 119, 75, 115. But you knew that was what you were going to get with him. So you got to take the good with the bad. At that price, that's really good. Who cares? Ashcroft, 72. He's not really again, the player we expected. But yeah, if he keeps pumping out like 72, he's probably getting close to maxed out. Yeah, he's all right to hold, but I'd be looking at getting rid of him pretty soon. These kids as well, if you notice, like with Jimby and Ashcroft, and I don't know if it'll happen with Sheasel, but probably because it happens with most rookies in their first year, they do tend to burn out at some point. Like Jimby's already done it. Ashcroft will, I think. So there's no harm in getting rid of him if you can get it. It depends what you can get for him. Like, no trade is a bad trade. It's all in context. It just depends what you're doing the trade for and what you're getting in return. So I held Mackenzie. I was gambling that he would come on early, and I actually said to my mate, and he can vouch for me, I said, I think that Wingard will get injured and Mackenzie will come on for him. I just had a feeling. And I was hoping it would be earlier. I wasn't hoping Wingard got injured, obviously, but yeah, I was hoping Mackenzie would get on earlier, but it wasn't, and he kept turning the ball over, so he could have got his break even in the end, but he just missed it. I think his break even was 15. But I chose to hold him because I think that he's far more likely to reset his break even. We've seen he can pump out like 90s and stuff this year. So I chose to do the one trade this week, and I got rid of Davey for McVee because I think Davey's done. Like, in terms of what he's going to make is going to be really slow now. Even when he does come back in the team, I can't see a big game coming out of him. Having said that, I got rid of Radigalia thinking the same thing, and since I've done that, he's pumped out like 2 high 80s or something like that. So you just never know. It's always a gamble. So you win some, you lose some. Baker 53, pretty standard. He's got to be gone soon as well. There's quite a few players that are close to having to go on my team, but I'm not really like desperate to get rid of any of them right now. See what the trades bring up through the week when I look at that. McVee, I did something I wouldn't normally do. I jumped on him when he was, I think he was 190 something K. So he's already had a big price jump, but with that break even, he was pretty safe bet to make like $50,000 in the one game. 44 he made, so yeah, that was alright. Like, I don't think that trades are worth 150 anymore with the extras, so I'm just looking to make like 100k a trade and I'm happy. So yeah, McVee 63, he looks like he's got a decent role, at least until Salem gets back, and I think he's still like a month or so away. And by then he's made his money and he's out too. English, absolute pig, stat padding machine, 139 in the wet. He scored 139 3 weeks this season. I'm glad I took the punt on him and wasn't scared off by the injuries or the injury niggles in pre-season and his somewhat poor injury history. But yeah, he's killing it. If you don't have him right now, you're giving up too many points each week. And Marshall 123. Now, I'm not sure if I'm happy with that score or not. I'm a bit worried about Marshall. So he was meant to be like the ultimate value pick. What's he gone up? Like 5,000k or something? Yeah. So 5,500k. And he's just not consistent. He doesn't get hit outs to advantage. He's a lot like Green. Like, they were meant to be the value picks and they just haven't gone up in price. So they're not really scoring higher than what they're priced at. Marshall's got a decent ceiling, but you've also got to take some pretty shitty scores with that. So I'd rather just have a consistent scorer. If I didn't have bigger problems in the team, I'd probably punt Marshall for Gawn once Gawn bottoms out. Now, Gawn's got a break even of like 200 and something, so he's definitely going to be cheap very soon. There's talk that he could be back this week. But yeah, I'm not going to do that one yet because that's like a luxury trade. But you would have expected Marshall up against no ruckman on the weekend with Collingwood and then McStay getting injured early, that he would have pumped out more than a 123. But he's just a turnover king. He can't hit a target. Can't get hit outs to advantage. Like, he's good around the ground, but he's just not a really good ruckman. Enough about him anyway. Dunkley 133, nice return to form. That's what we expected out of him. Him and Neil just dominated out of the middle there. Taranto 115. It's really good as well. Him and Hopper 115 each. Taranto, I've said it every week, if he could hit targets, he'd be right up there with the best midfielders. Golden 88. I don't know if I'm happy with him or not. Same as Marshall. Like, he was meant to be a bit of a value pick, but again, he hasn't really gone up either. 17k. The only thing I'm happy about with Golden is I chose him over Rosie to get the extra money, and he's actually outscored Rosie so far by about 8 points or something. So I'll take that, but it's frustrating watching Horse put him on the wing every week, and he missed a couple of easy goals. I think there was one in the last quarter where it was an absolute gimme, and he's just sprayed it. So that's frustrating, but anyway, it could be worse. Speaking of frustrating, Cogs 102. Now, I'm not going to blame him for this one, but Champion Data, I don't know what is up with them. They seem to hate Cogs. Like, he was huge in the last quarter, and he'd do something really good. He'd get underscored. He'd get only a few points for it, and then the points would just start ticking away, like ticking down, and he just couldn't get past that 102, 103 mark. So I don't know what's up with that. Maybe they gave all these points to Himmelberg or something, but really frustrating because it doesn't seem to happen to certain other players. It's just every week it happens to Cogs. Like, if you compare his stats with other players, you can see that there's some kind of bias going on there. She's all 100. Pretty standard now. Kid's an animal. Got a bit worried there when he went down. I think he got a hit on the head or something. But yeah, he looks fine. And how much has he made now? 230k, break even 39. So he's just going to keep going. It's probably going to be 550 pretty soon. So everyone's got him though. So same with him and Dacos. Like, every single person's got them. So when they score big, it doesn't really excite me too much. Peddler 60. He's turned out to be a pretty decent rookie. So he's got a break even of 3. He's made 62k. He's a bit frustrating on the week. Oh, not on the weekend, but when was the game? Thursday night. He had 35 or something at quarter time, and then he's only managed 25 for the rest of the game. But yeah, 83, 36, 73, 60. I think he's not being talked about enough, or he wasn't talked about enough as a rookie pickup. Like, everyone was distracted by others, and he's just quietly getting some decent scores there. So really happy to have gone with my gut and picked him up. It's clear that they rate him really highly. Like, Ned McHenry got, I think, 4 or 5 coaches' votes against Fremantle, and then he's been dropped so Pedler could come back into the team. So it just shows you how much they rate him. Green 76, his second score in the 70s in a row. He's reset his cash gen. Minus 15 break even. Hopefully he doesn't score too many against the Crom, but I'm not going to be too upset if he does, as long as they win and he gets a good score. Happy to put him on the bench. I may even field him this week for Pedler, but I think the Crows forwards are more likely to have a feast than the Hawks forwards. And then Van Rooyen, 52. Not sure what's going on with his job security. McDonald was better on the weekend, but they're just throwing him around everywhere. And Ben Brown, he should be back soon. So Melbourne's forward line just looks really dysfunctional. It's definitely a letdown. They don't look the same team without Gawn. I'm just wondering how they're going to play all these tools when Gawn gets back. Like, one of them's got to make way, and I think it might be Van Rooyen. But with the way Brown and McDonald are, and Goodwin's short amount of patience with those two, I think it won't be long and he'll be back anyway. So just sit him on the bench and play the long game. So that's how the team went. pretty happy with it. I saw some people acting like, well, that kind of score was pretty average, and it was average, but it's, I don't know, it's a step in the right direction, so stoked with that. And my highest score of the year, obviously. Sorry about that if you can hear the cars going past and stuff and making all my snare drums rattle. I guess I'll run through the other games. I'll like run through the games now and see who was fantasy relevant and who did what. That way I don't have to make 2 videos. I'll just get it all done at once, and then I can look after my screaming kids. And don't forget to chuck a like and a sub. It'd be nice to know that people that are watching actually enjoy what I'm doing. I'm not too worried about getting subs and stuff. That's not why I did this, but it'd be nice to know that it's appreciated. So if you do subscribe, thanks in advance. Okay, so start with the Crom. And boy, oh boy, were they good. I'm not going to get ahead of myself and start thinking about finals or anything, because I've been hurt too much in the last 5 years. But it's hard not to get excited when they're playing like that. If they can close the gap on between their best and worst, there's no reason why they couldn't make finals. It's up to them. So Dawson 152. He's just out of control at the moment, and he's priced himself out for me. I don't think I can get him this week unless I boost. And what's he like, 650k or something? So he's just way too high. In all of my preseason teams, I had him as D1, and I swapped him out for Doherty because I listened too much to other people talking about the midfield time Doherty would get. I'm not blaming anyone. If you get information, it's up to you what you do with it. So that's on me. And anyway, I wish I had him. But I do have Laird, and he was great, 135. Chase Jones, 116. He's one to think about. He's like 300k. I think he scored a 95 or something last week. He just looks a different player now. He was a really high draft pick back in the day. He's not even that old, but he's just kind of flicked a switch, it looks like, and he suddenly looks confident. He's hitting targets. The Crows are looking to go through him. So he's really tempting. I don't think he's a keeper, so I don't know if I want to go there, because I've already used the 3 boosts. I'm down to 26 trades, so I don't know. We'll see. It could be a case of bringing in him and Zeeble this week or something. Let's see, Duday 107. So another good score from him, but he's either scoring a ton or he's giving you a 40. So avoid him. Don't get sucked in. Miller 103. He's kind of the same. Rochelle 95. That's where I expect him to sit for the year. But he could easily go higher. I think he was getting like 2 or 3 goals a game before that. So had he got that on the weekend, he would have been up like 120 odd. So who else? Sloan just quietly has had a good year. But he's not really too relevant anymore. Rob had a quiet 173. Thought he'd go better, seeing as he was up against DeConning, who's quite young, but he's quite athletic too. So, and Rob's not the biggest ruck, so he's probably a bit easier to jump over. But 41 hitouts, that's odd. Like 73 Supercoach, 41 hitouts. He obviously didn't have many to advantage, and a lot got sharked. And I was tempted to get Michelani this week, or Michelani as he's called. Glad I didn't. It just didn't feel right. Like the gut feel just wasn't good. And yeah, he's got himself a 60. And I think that's more like his real form. I think that's what you're going to see more of rather than these 80s and 90s. So for his price, if you've got him, he's probably going to be a bust unless he goes real big this week, which I can't see happening against Hawthorn because the ball's probably not going to be down there much. Not much else there. Pedler we already spoke about. Saligo had a shocker. I know he's not really relevant, but 4 touches in a half a footy, that's really low for him. So not sure what's going on there. Walsh returned 104. Wouldn't be looking at him yet. Sard 85, should have been more. Cripps 80, low game for him. Him and Dawson were head to head for a while, which was pretty cool to watch. Like they weren't tagging each other, but just head to head. There's really not much here for Carlton. Like they were just dominated for most of it. Hewitt 65. He was on a really low score at half time, so a 65 is decent for him in the second half. Wiedering, he's like Duday, he's yo-yo. They're just all the Carlton players were down. Plowman, I don't know how he's even playing. Cowan 42, quiet. Kennedy 41, that's real quiet. So I think the Crom midfield's not as bad as people think anymore. Fremantle versus Gold Coast. So I was at this game as well at Norwood. Very, very narrow oval, so not much space. It was a shitty game to watch. Gold Coast were in control for most of it and then choked it at the end. Gold Coast forwards are disgusting. Their positioning is just so bad. They're usually behind and they're just lazy. But also, Gold Coast midfield is dysfunctional. Took isn't being able to have the impact that he should because Rao's just getting it and laying it on the boot, and it's usually a shit kick. And because the Gold Coast forwards aren't good at the positioning, it's not giving them a chance. So it's just going straight to Fremantle, halfbacks and that. Really, he should be trying to give the handball to Took or someone so they can take the kick, but whatever. If that's what Stewie wants to persist with, that's his job on the line. Sarong 146, he's going off, so absolutely awesome pod if you've got him. I'm actually looking at him myself. Just a bit of danger there though. Brody hasn't been playing. Like I know he played on the weekend, but he was the sub. And Brayshaw's way down. So I don't know what's going on with their midfield mix, but if this continues, he's going to be the man, so I have to get him eventually. Shrek 136, he was up against second game and Ned Moyle. So a little bit like the Marshall one, he probably could have gone a lot higher, but yeah, 48 hitouts. But yeah, he couldn't hit a target just like Marshall, so they're kind of similar, I guess. But they're not like the best tap rucks, but they're just good around the ground. Like, Shrek's good at taking marks and stuff. Let's see. Schultz 124, he's not relevant. Luke Ryan 93, he had a quiet first half. And this was surprising because I thought, especially with the way Gold Coast forwards positioned themselves badly, that he would have just gobbled everything up, but he didn't. He did towards the end, and that's why he got up to 93 real quick. Cox 93, he's still not the best pick. Like, obviously, he's still just scoring, and I spoke about that last video, that these players who just keep on scoring, they're obviously a somewhat decent pick if they are scoring. Like, you can't argue with that, but it's just, I think the way Cox gets his points is not a reliable avenue, so not looking there. Aiden Young 90, he's not what people thought he would be. I think mostly because Ryan is the man down there. Brayshaw 77, he's way off. Don't know what's going on with him. I'm not looking to pick him up even if he gets cheap because it's just, if they're not scoring, what's the point? He might come good, but who knows? I'd have to watch that one more closely and see if it's Fremantle's midfield mix that's doing it or if he's just off. Johnson 67, interesting rookie to look at. Maybe it's O'Meara in the midfield that's thrown it all out. Or Brayshaw and Brody. I don't know. Wagner, another rookie, 39. That's not great. Now, Took, 127. That's what you'd expect from him. He could be higher, but again, Rao is detrimental to him, I think. Obviously, as I said before, looking to bring him in this week, possibly. The Setterfield. Still not sold. I don't know. I'll probably do a trade video later in the week. Anderson and Rao 109. They're both just hackers though. Like Anderson 56 efficiency. Rao 76, that's pretty high for him. but it'd be interesting to know how much of that was by foot and how much by handball. If anyone knows a website where you can check that out, let me know, because everywhere I see it's just a combined disposal efficiency. Weller 105. That's not bad. He'd be alright for draft, I guess. Not much else here. Ben Long, he needs to be out of the team. He's just averaging like 9 disposals a game as a loose halfback. That's shit. Just bring Constable back. I'm not even being biased here. Can't persist with the same underperforming players and expect a different result. Yes, there's not much there. Bailey Humphrey, 38. Doesn't look like he's got the role to score. Sexton, he shouldn't be sub. He's been sub 3 weeks in a row. Bloody hell, Stewie, you wouldn't think your job's on the line. Get Rosas or, I don't know, one of those other forwards that aren't scoring out of there and get Sexton in, who's got some goal sense. So yeah, this game I was at as well. Opera and Taranto we talked about. Baker 113. He is inconsistent, but he seems more consistent this year than he has been. And I think that the number 1 ranked team actually has him. So that's real interesting. Rioli 101. Now, I noticed this year so far a very similar thing to the... If you've been watching my videos, I've been talking about how Wilmot and McKenna have basically 140 points between them to split in a game because of their similar roles. And it's just a matter of which one gets more. That didn't happen this week. They both scored... Well, their combined score was well below 140. So first time this year. And Baker and Rioli, they did the same. If you check their scores, whenever Baker goes big, Rioli's quiet, and vice versa. So this week, just like the other one, was different because they both went pretty big. But I'm not really looking at picking either of them. Richmond aren't that Supercoach relevant anyway, really. Samson Ryan, 56. I don't know. I was tempted to get him in the forward line, but decided to back Van Ruin over him. I just don't think he's going to score enough to be worth it. But I've been wrong a few times this year, so I just wouldn't be surprised if he starts pumping out good scores as well. Dusty, he's finished in terms of Supercoach. Blakey 151, good pot if you have him. Although I think that's his first good score for the year. Heaney 144. He was on like 90 points from like 6 disposals and 1 goal or something like that at one point. Like I know he had the 7 tackles. But this is what is odd. If you look at Cogs, where is he? Cogs had 9 tackles. Now, he wasn't getting any extra points for that, but obviously Heaney was, so how does that work? Like, these are the things that I'm starting to question. Papley 140, he was huge, especially in the last half. I've never seen him play live before, so that was a real joy. Jake Lloyd 119, he's a hot pick at the moment. I said about him last week to keep your eye on him. It looks like he might be back, and he's still pretty cheap. What is he? $5.33. So he's still pretty cheap. If you think he's going to be a keeper, now's the time to get him. I just don't know if he will be or not. I don't know what other people do, but I normally set out like a list of what I think the top 8 players for each position will be, and then I try and work out a strategy of how I get them in at what times, like in a priority list. And he's not currently on it, but he's bloody tempting, so I guess if you're in my position and you had a bad start, you kind of got to take gambles like that. But yeah, when other people are jumping on Sicily and that, and Sicily's not scoring well, probably not the worst shout in the world to get a Lloyd or someone. Go against the pack. Mills 97, he can't be trusted anymore. Well, not so much him, but Horse. Matt Roberts 93 as a rookie. That's good. I don't know about his job security though. But with a 93 in his system and those sub scores falling out or whatever he's got in there, the low scores, he's going to make a bit of money if he can keep in the team. Golden 88, Warner 80. Warner hasn't come on at all. I thought he would have a breakout year after watching the grand final last year, and it's just not happening. I'm glad that I took him out my preseason team. Latham 71 shows how shit he is, honestly. Up against Samson, Ryan, and Miller, and that's all he could muster. So not much else. Florent, he was talked about a bit last week, and he's come back down to earth with a 50. So unlucky if anyone picked him up. All the Sydney defenders are scoring pretty well at the moment, though. Speaking of Sydney defenders, Will Gould, he actually exists. I can't believe it. I saw him in the flesh. He didn't look that great, though, to be honest. So he's not really a relevant pick. See how he goes next week. Not sure if what's his name, the other McCartan, if he'll Tom, if he'll be back. Probably not because of the concussion thing. Sorry if you can hear that motorbike going past. I don't know how much this mic picks up of like background noise, but probably think I'm insane when I apologise for noises that you can't hear. Corey Warner 37. Let's see if he does better next week. Wouldn't be rushing to bring any of these in. Lions and North. This could have been a much bigger scoreline too, by the look of it. It wasn't bad to watch either. Hats off to North though; they don't really roll over like they used to. Like I know that looks pretty grim, that scoreline, but it probably wasn't as one-sided as that looks. But yeah, Brisbane did seem to take the foot off a bit at times. So obviously Neil 176, Dunkley 133, Zorko 110. He's a bit of a roller coaster this year, but avoid because he'll get injured or suspended or something. McCluggage 98, so that's back more in line with what he's done in previous years. He's still going to keep dropping in price though, I think. So I'm not looking at him yet. I probably won't either. Andrews 91, he's far more consistent this year. Still not a top pick though, when you can get others around that price that are better. Bailey 80. He's like McCluggage, keep an eye on him for later. But yeah, he's definitely lost his midfield time to Dunkley and whoever else. Ashcroft is going to make money. Wilmot. Yeah, not much there. Zeeble 106, thinking of bringing him in this week. It's not too late. If you think that he's a keeper or close to, he's still cheap. Like he's still 450 or something like that. If he can just pump out solid hundreds each week or thereabouts, for that price, that's pretty good. Just checking something. Yeah, so she's a 100. Bit low for him. Daniel Howe, he's annoying because him and Sheasel look the same on the TV. You get excited every time Howe gets the ball, thinking it's Sheasel. Phillip 74, if you've had him since the start, well done. And if you had the balls to bring him in after as well, well done. I didn't, so missed out there, but he's scoring pretty well. And his job security seems okay, especially with Simpkin. I think he broke his hand, so he'll get a better run at it now as well. Comben 59, that's actually one of his better scores for the year, but I don't know why you'd still have him. So this game was weird. I don't know what to make of Melbourne. Like without Gawn, they seem like they lose their powers. Just completely dysfunctional forward of centre. It seems like Gawn and Lever are they're completely dependent on those two in terms of their structure. So Merritt 134. He's usually one that starts off pretty average and you bring him in later in the year because he'll bottom out. Parrish 108. He's not doing what everyone expected. Draper 103. He's not going to play like that every week though. He had the home crowd and stuff. He's not going to get 3 goals every week. Grundy actually killed him in terms of the around the ground stuff. But yeah, he's hard to score on for the better ruckman. I'll give him that. So Setterfield 91, 10 tackles, bloody hell. Ridley 91. He's another player. Now, I don't have Ridley, but he's another player that seems to fall for like this champion data crap where they pick and choose. It seems like they don't give Ridley what he deserves because they're not contested possessions. But at the same time, players like Dacos are getting points through the roof for the same uncontested type possessions. So I don't know. I know other people have noticed this, so tell me in the comments if you've noticed too. Redmond 72, he's down. They seem to just share it so much back there. Durham 72, he's a bit underscored. He did well. Grundy 128. It's probably the end of him with Gorn back next week. So if you got him in, you would have made some decent cash. He might go another week though. Oliver 115. It's pretty low for him. 41 touches, but in the wet. He had a really shitty first half. Like Setterfield somewhat stopped him, I guess. Petrarca 110. He could be an interesting pod later on. Not too much here. Pickett 61 is quiet for him. They were all down. Chandler 56. Not good if you own him, but he's probably already made his cash, so it's not the end of the world. Yeah, there's not much there. Oh, McDonald only 6 touches. I said before that he was decent. Who was I thinking of? Certainly wasn't McDonald. So there you go. He might end up out of the team. And Van Ruin, who wasn't much better, he might stay just because he's younger. Unfortunately, the power got up. I never like seeing that. Houston 123, Butters 146. He's not set the world alight so far, but no, he's not been terrible. And then to pump that out, you'd be happy if you got him as a pod. Rosie 93, he was just getting points for breathing in the end. I don't know how he got that high. 26 disposals at 57% efficiency. Oh, I don't know. I don't pretend to know how they work it out. Bloke 87, he was big, but he's finished in terms of Supercoach. Jason Horney Bonkic, 86. Again, he was quiet and then had a big, I think, third quarter. Wine 72. He was looking good at the start. I don't know what happened there. He's just way down this year in general. Williams 51. I'd be watching out this week. He could be one to downgrade to, because I think he got a 67 last week, so he's not going to make massive cash. But he's only one good game away from possibly doing that. So yeah, if you're going to get him, it's got to be this week because he's on the bubble. I just never know though with Kenny, with the job security of the younger players. Lysette, he's done. He should retire. He's the easiest ruck to score on. So Bont 145, English 139, pretty standard. Johannesson 112, so he's playing off half back now and looks like his old self. and it's killing off the points for Richards, Daniel, and Dale. Dale had a shocker. McRae 112. He should have this yin yang sign next to him every week. He either has a big first half or a big last half, but never 4 big quarters. Libber 101. He's been a good pod. I think he's top 15 overall. So if you've had him, well done. Liam Jones 88. He's another one that's annoyed me because I traded him out after round 1. After he got 5.5, and now he's getting 80s and stuff. So whatever. I got Bose in for him. They're pretty much the same average and that. Actually, I think Bose is averaging more. Richards 82. Quiet game from him by his standards. But yeah, it was Richards, Dale, and Daniel all affected by Johannesson. They got too many halfbacks and not enough spots. Waitman was good in his comeback, but he's not Supercoach relevant. Baker 53. I don't know why he's got the icicle on him, because that's pretty damn standard for Baker. Like 11 touches. I don't know what they're expecting from him. Josh Bruce injured. I wonder what that means for Jones if Bruce went out the team. Because it looks like Bruce is playing the intercept role. Probably nothing. Toby McLean is the sub. He was popular pick in pre-season, and then this was always going to happen, I guess. Alright, this game was boring. Geelong and West Coast. Geelong played one good quarter, which was the second. They went crazy. Jeremy Cameron kicked like 3 goals in 2 minutes, and then the rest of it, they just took their foot off. Hawkins 151. Return to form for him. Stewart 135. He would have went huge if the ball actually went down there more. Blitzarves, I considered him, as I said in the last video, in the preseason. So 124 from him. That's not bad. He's just been real inconsistent this year. Jazza 119. He's been huge. I think he's the number 1 ranked forward. I don't think many people saw that coming. He's one to get, but he's probably like a bit expensive now for what he is. He's going to drop some shitty games. Well, not shitty, but like lower games pretty soon. Being a key forward, that's just how they are. Probably Geelong will get a flogging soon because they're not looking convincing, and that's when he'll drop them. Holmes 96. Not this year, maybe next year he might break out. Radigalia 88, that hurts. We're not going to talk about Bose. Guthrie 57, that's really quiet for him. Parfitt is terrible. He'll be lucky to have a spot on the list at the end of the year, I think. And Mitch Duncan was really quiet, so for the people that got sucked in and bought him in, that was unlucky. Well, not unlucky, really. Like, he's not a good pick because he's old, he's injury riddled, he never plays that many games in a season. But he's also not prone to dropping 34s, so that part is unlucky. Allen 113. Well done to owners of Allen if you've persisted this long. I didn't because I don't like key forwards in my team. Tim Kelly 90. It's interesting. The guy, I don't know if it's a guy, but the person that is in number 1 spot, they have Tim Kelly in their team, so that's an interesting one. I guess the ball, inevitably, like, it has to go to someone at some point in West Coast midfield, and if he's the last man standing when the others are all injured, that's going to help him. Hunt 66. Not exactly what you'd want. That's okay. Edwards 66. He's like a 190k rookie. He's probably got good job security if he can stay fit. I think he had like osteitis pubis or something last year. He was a decent rookie before that. I'd just keep my eye on him. It's not like he's going to shoot up in price anyway. Hoff is another one, 65. Although he's probably not rookie price anymore, so he's irrelevant. Barris 52. So he is prone to these kind of scores, but I thought that with McGovern out of the team, he'd do what he did last year, where he was a lot less prone to those scores. But it's a tough ask when he's up against Hawkins and Cameron, and he's got no help. Like Hearn was rested too, and he's not even key position, but he's the next best defender. So yeah, he was always going to score low this week, which is why I didn't bother getting him, because I've been a big fan of Barras, and he was in my preseason team until I realised that McGovern being absent last year is what caused his spike. Yo 44, don't go near him. Injuries, bad scoring, whatever. He was turning the ball over too a lot, which is unlike him. Good finish to this game. Not the most skillful game, but Himmelberg at both ends. Took the hanger, kicked the winning goal, and then down the other end, saved potential winning goal from Hawthorn. Toby Green, 120. He's having a good season. He's probably not the worst pick. What's he averaging? Oh, he's cheap too. 90. So that's not bad if it wasn't for that 40. But I guess that's what you're going to get with a forward. But if for some reason he ever ended up in the midfield again, I'd be all over that. Coming 104. 104. Good to see him back. He's been pretty bad this season in terms of Supercoach, and frustrating 102 from Cogs, frustrating 97 from Green, frustrating that Himmelberg's playing forward, not back. Kelly 80, that would be hurting those that got him back in after the concussion, or if you held him. He was popular pick at the start of the year. Whitfield's just not relevant anymore. I don't know what's up with that guy. He just doesn't look interested or something. Buckley 78. He would have been a good pick, but he's priced out now. Haynes 66. That's well down on what he's been doing. Rouston 42. Know a few people were getting him in when he was on the bubble. You'd want more than that. 6 touches, so he's probably not going to be too safe in the team either. Newcomb 121. He was one I considered as a breakout in the pre-season. I just thought there'd be no real competition to get the ball in the Hawthorn midfield. But then Warple decided to return to form. So he's been good for whoever's got him. He was another popular one. Moore 93. He just can't be counted on because Hawthorn's so poor. But he's a really good player. If he was in a good team, you'd have to pick him, I think. Sicily 91. He's way down. I'm not even... Honestly, I don't think I'm even really looking at him right now. Like, maybe last year was an anomaly for him. Maybe it's the captaincy. I don't know. But he's not playing how he did last year. Or maybe Hawthorn's not playing the same. Fergus Kermit Green, 76. That's good. Brockman, 70. He got ruined by being the sub last week. Well, no, he was subbed out, wasn't he? And that's not good. Because he had a good score the round before and this round. And then that first good score is going to disappear this week. Seamus Mitchell, 67. If he can do that again, he'll be the most traded in rookie next week. Ned Long, 67. What did he get? Was that his first game of the season? Hold on here. Can't see it because of the webcam thing. 165, so he's expensive too. Only played the one game. Right. Just wait and see on him, I guess. Mackenzie 14. That hurts. I don't know why they've given him the brick wall. It's not his fault that he was a sub for bloody 3/4 or whatever. But yeah, he was turning the ball over so much. 5 touches at 40%. Mitchell 107. Back to what he's been doing for most of the year. He had a real shitty one last week, but so did most of Collingwood. Pendlebury 92. That's more of a down one for him. He's been really good this year. Even though they won, this is pretty low Supercoach points for Collingwood. Noble 77. That's back to normal for him. Adams is way down. Billy Frampton was alright in the ruck at not so much winning it, but stopping Marshall from doing much. So I think they'll keep him in there. But he's already too expensive. If anyone wants to look at him, and I don't know why you would, because he's not going to score well in there. But some people seem to think that whoever's playing ruck has to come in the team. Wilkie 156. Not sure anyone saw that one coming. He's been pretty consistent this year, but just like Barras, he's prone to those real shitty scores as well. Like, you got to take the good with the bad, so I'm not really interested in picking him. Crouch 116, he goes under the radar a bit. Just a decent accumulator, like his brother. Wood 98, great pod pick for people that started him. But he's probably priced out now as well. I don't think... Well, he could be a keeper, like a... No, he's a midfielder, isn't he? Yeah, he wouldn't be a keeper. But he's definitely made cash, so... Sinclair 90, got my eye on him. Again, like Sicily, he's not what he was last year. Maybe it's the team that's not what it was. The way they play, obviously, is going to be different under Ross. But I'm much more interested in Sinclair than Sicily. Owens 84, that's good. He's averaging the 90s. Stocker 78, great pick, whoever got him. I didn't, just because of previous years, how he's been. Philippou or Filippo, however you say it, 67, that's decent. Kammer 44, that's not his best, but considering his starting price, he's made a fair bit. That's about it, really. Yeah, so I'll do a trade video later in the week, I think, maybe when teams are announced or something like that. But yeah, let me know in the comments how you went and if you agree that something's going on with champion data, because it's pretty frustrating. Like I said, it's not a conspiracy thing, but something's different, and I'm curious to know what it is. So until the next video, I hope you had a good weekend and all enjoyed Gather Round as much as I did. And see you in the next video.